Imagine this. You pull up your banking app, squint at the balance, and the number looks like a personal insult. Maybe it's $482. Maybe it's $6,900. Either way, that first $1,000 feels like a summit you can't reach without a Sherpa. If you're tired of watching other people quietly build safety nets while you wrestle with bank alerts, stick around, because we're going to break down exactly why that first $1,000 is the hardest money you'll ever save, why the next $10,000 becomes easier, and what to do about it in precise, usable steps. Let's start with one blunt fact. Most people skip. Nearly half of Americans say they don't have enough liquid funds to handle a $1,000 surprise expense. That's not a maybe or a some. It's almost half of the population admitting they'd be forced to borrow or sell something if a $1,000 bill landed on their doorstep tomorrow. That's why the first 1,000 is so meaningful. It's the line between I panic and I handle it. Now, before anyone accuses this of being motivational fluff, here's the real issue. The struggle isn't just about income. Plenty of people with decent paychecks still can't save. The real barrier lives inside your head. There's a well-studied decision bias called temporal discounting. Your brain literally reduces the value of future rewards compared to immediate ones. So the pleasure of a $50 dinner tonight often outcompetes the abstract idea of $50 in a savings account 3 months from now. This isn't moral failure, it's how decision-making evolved. Your brain optimizes for immediate survival and small, certain rewards over larger, uncertain future gains. Add another layer, the house money effect. When money arrives in ways that feel like a bonus, a tax refund, a found $20, a stimulus check, your brain treats it as play money. You're far more likely to spend it on something fun than to fold it into the same pot as the paychecks you worked hard for. That mental accounting wrecks long-term habits. Research shows people take more risks and spend more freely when they feel like they're handling extra money, which keeps that first real cushion stubbornly out of reach. Then there are the scripts. Think of these as emotional settings loaded into your account from childhood. Things you heard about money, how your family behaved around it, whether money meant security or stress, silence or shame. Those scripts steer decisions without you noticing. Studies linking self-efficacy, the belief that you can actually achieve something, to saving behavior show that people who believe they can save are objectively more likely to do it. In plain terms, seeing small success changes what you expect from yourself, and that changes what you actually do. So the battle has 3 fronts: biology, biased mental accounting, and old learned stories. No wonder the first $1,000 feels like wading through quicksand. Here's the key switch nobody tells you when they preach, just save more. The mental shift that comes with saving your first small amount rewires your decision-making. When you actually get to $1,000, 2 things happen at once. First, you prove to yourself you can do it. That proof changes your identity, from someone who can't save to someone who does. Second, compound math begins to join your side. Even tiny balances, when invested or put into higher yield savings, start earning returns. Those returns are small at first, but they change the game psychologically. You start to see your balance grow without direct sacrifice every month, and that feels different. Research on connecting people to their future selves shows that when people can picture or experience future outcomes, they allocate more resources today to benefit that future self. That's the mechanism that flips saving from punishing to motivating. Let me show you the math with a tight, simple example, and then explain why that math feels like magic once you understand the psychology. Imagine you set aside $100 each month. If you just tuck that into a no-interest jar, you hit $1,000 in 10 months. That's the brutal part. It feels slow and progress looks tiny. Now assume instead you put that money in an investment that yields 7% per year. 10 months later, you've still basically got the $1,000, but now your balance has started to earn a few dollars of interest. Keep going. The second $1,000 usually takes less time than the first, because returns and accumulated principal are starting to work together. By the time you hit $10,000, that same 7% starts producing hundreds of dollars each year with zero extra effort from you. The extra money is doing real work while you sleep. Use a reputable compound interest calculator and you'll see this play out numerically. It's not opinion, it's arithmetic. But the math alone won't win the fight. That's where behavior design comes in. If your brain values immediate rewards, you have to make saving feel immediate. Automate. Make contributions happen before you see the money. Treat savings like a bill you pay yourself. If you route money into savings before it hits your spending account, your brain never has the chance to value that cash as immediate consumption. Automations cut the friction between intent and action, and they reduce the daily mental load of should I or shouldn't I. Do this, and you stop repeatedly losing the fight with temporal discounting. Next, reframe found money. If you get a refund or a windfall, split it. Use a fixed rule. 50% to savings, 30% to a small treat, 20% to learning or investment. The exact split can vary, but the point is to defeat the house money impulse with a rule that treats that cash like part of your long-term plan while still giving your brain a small, immediate reward it craves. Now let's talk about small habits that compound the wrong way. The stealth spenders. Here's a concrete number to wake you up. U.S. consumers buy a lot of coffee. The coffee industry moves roughly $100 billion in consumer spending a year. That's not a moral attack on caffeine, it's a reality check. A $4 coffee every workday, for instance, adds up to about $1,040 per year. Put that into a hypothetical investment earning 7% annually, and in 20 years it could be worth many tens of thousands of dollars. That's the cost of a daily ritual that produces no long-term value unless you count the social or energy benefits. When you see the long-run numbers, the choice becomes clearer. Use the saved money intentionally. People often respond that stopping small pleasures makes life miserable. That's an unhelpful black and white view. The better approach is substitution. Replace frequent low-value spending with low-cost, emotionally satisfying alternatives. Make coffee at home some days, limit dining out to specific social occasions, and funnel the difference into your emergency buffer. Small emotional wins plus a rising balance is how the identity shift happens. You keep the things that matter emotionally while changing the routine that eats long-term security. Another important lever is visibility. Humans respond to data. If your balance is a number you never check, saving feels abstract. Make your savings visible in a way that gives you small dopamine hits. Weekly balance check-ins, a progress bar app, or a simple spreadsheet that shows your goal. And current balance can create the positive reinforcement needed to keep you going. Studies on future self-visualization indicate that when people can see or project their future selves, they act differently today. Seeing progress does the same thing. It connects your present choices to the future you want. Let's get tactical for a minute, the way you'll talk to a client or a friend who's convinced they can't save. First, automate at least 5% of your paycheck to go straight into a liquid savings account. If 5% feels impossible, start at 1% and increase after 3 months. This uses the momentum principle. Small, consistent wins build confidence. Second, set a specific first goal, $1,000 in a high-yield savings account. Make it framed and visible. Third, when you get any one-off money, a refund, a birthday gift, a side gig, apply a fixed percentage to the goal. Fourth, set a behavior replacement. Bring lunch 3 days a week and take the money saved to the account. Fifth, keep a small discretionary fund for guilt-free fun so you don't binge spend when progress feels slow. You might be thinking, that's fine for disciplined people. But what about when life intervenes? That's why the goal is to create a buffer. Emergencies happen. Medical bills, car repairs, sudden layoffs. These are not moral failings. They are finance problems. When you have your first $1,000, you've radically reduced the odds that a single event will force you into debt, And debt is the real enemy because it adds interest and stress and drains future saving capacity. Look at the broader picture. Economists track the personal saving rate for a reason. It tells you whether households are accumulating or depleting wealth. When the rate rises, people are building buffers. When it falls, they lean on credit. The saving rate fluctuates with the economy, but the personal behavior you adopt determines whether you're part of a trend or swimming against it. If you learn how to make saving automatic and satisfying, you'll outpace the average person, regardless of macro swings. There's one more psychological trick that works better than discipline: identity-based goals. Don't tell yourself, "I want $1,000. Tell yourself, "I am the kind of person who saves automatically." The difference is huge. Identity goals change the filters your brain uses to interpret choices. When you believe you're a saver, small daily choices align with that identity automatically. The self-efficacy research shows that belief translates to action in predictable ways. Once you get past the initial friction and prove to yourself you can save, your future behavior follows. Let me give you another math example so the idea cements. Suppose you manage to save $200 a month instead of $100, and you invested at 6% annually. In 10 years, you'll have roughly $31,000. At $100 a month with the same return, you'd have about $15,500. Doubling your monthly contribution doesn't just double your balance. Because the earlier extra contributions earn returns for longer, it multiplies the outcome. This is why increasing savings gradually once you've crossed that first $1,000 is so effective. The early momentum compounds with future contributions. Use a compound calculator and run different scenarios. It makes the benefits concrete. Now for the practical cheat codes that make it painless. Round up apps that save your spare change. Employer direct deposit split. So part of your paycheck goes directly to savings, automatic transfers on payday, and setting up separate accounts for specific purposes. Emergency, sinking funds, fun. These tactics reduce mental accounting errors and stop your brain from redefining available money every time a temptation appears. Also, consider this behavioral hack. Give your savings account a name that aligns with identity. Freedom Fund, My Safety Net, or even something silly that makes the account emotionally relevant. Naming helps your brain connect abstract numbers to a lived purpose, which reduces the urge to treat it like house money. Before we wrap, here's a social reality check. Many people around you will not understand the shift when your identity flips. Friends might joke about you being cheap. Coworkers will not notice your progress. That's okay. The point isn't to win applause now, it's to buy options later. Options come in the form of choices, the ability to change jobs, to take unpaid time to study or start a business, to avoid predatory debt, to weather health shocks without ruin. Those options aren't flashy today, but they're the tangible payoff you'll thank yourself for later. And yes, there will be setbacks. Imagine you hit $1,000 and then an emergency wipes out half of it. It's painful, but there's a critical difference between people who recover and people who don't. The ones who recover treat the event as a data point. They review what happened, adjust their plan, and automate again. That kind of response is trained by small wins and the identity shift we talked about. You'll be set back, but not stopped. So here's the tight summary you can act on today. Automate a small amount, make the goal visible, treat windfalls with a rule, replace one recurring low-value habit, and name your account. That first $1,000 is the moral equivalent of starting a new therapy for your money. The early sessions are rough, but once you've completed them, the follow-through gets easier because your brain now has new evidence and a new identity to protect. If you want numbers to play with, run the exact scenarios you live with through a compound calculator. Plug in $50, $100, $200 monthly. Try 5%, 7%, 6% returns. See the decade and two-decade outcomes. Concrete numbers change behavior because they change belief. If you can see that $100 a month becomes a five-figure balance after a decade, your present choices suddenly feel less abstract and more urgent. If this video helped you see money a little differently, let me know in the comments where you're starting from and what your first goal is. Hit like if this made sense to you, and subscribe because we break down money in a real, practical way like this all the time.